Imagine waking up to find yourself at war. Not against an enemy army, not a superpower, but against birds that can't even fly. It might sound like a joke, but it actually happened in Australia in 1932, in a story that history would later remember as the Emu War. After the end of World War I, thousands of Australian soldiers returned home, burdened with the memories of combat. The government decided to grant them farmland to start a new life. The hope was that this land would become a source of livelihood and stability, and that the soldiers would leave the sound of cannons behind them forever. But nature had other plans. That year, massive waves of emus began moving towards the farmlands. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of enormous birds, each reaching up to 2 meters in height and capable of running at speeds of nearly 50 kilometers per hour. For the birds, the farms were an open feast. For the farmers, it was the beginning of a nightmare. The emus swarmed the fields relentlessly. They devoured crops, tore down fences, and left behind a landscape that looked as if a storm had swept over it. Soldiers who had survived a world war found themselves helpless against an enemy that understood neither negotiation nor fear. Losses mounted rapidly, and the farmers had no choice but to plead for help. Complaints reached the government, and an immediate solution was needed before the harvest season collapsed. Then came the decision that shocked everyone. Send in the army. Yes, real soldiers equipped with heavy machine guns and thousands of rounds of ammunition. The objective was simple: reduce the bird population and retake the land. No one could have imagined that this seemingly straightforward mission would turn into one of the most embarrassing military campaigns in history. And so, the war began. On a quiet November morning in 1932, soldiers spotted a large flock of emus. They cautiously approached, set up their machine guns, and waited for the right moment. Then the shots rang out. But instead of the birds falling by the dozens, something strange happened. The emus scattered with astonishing speed, running in every direction and disappearing from view within seconds. They were faster than anyone had anticipated. The soldiers tried again, targeting larger groups, but the birds seemed to have a plan. Often some would stand guard, and at the first sign of danger, the entire flock would flee. Later, one of the commanders admitted in amazement, "If we had soldiers with the agility of these birds, we would be difficult to defeat." The operation had transformed from a simple mission into a grueling chase across harsh terrain, against an enemy that never stopped escaping. The soldiers refused to admit defeat, so they devised a new plan, mounting a machine gun on a moving truck to hunt the birds. It seemed like the perfect solution. But as soon as the chase began, a problem arose. The roads were rough, the truck shook violently, and aiming became nearly impossible. The driver tried to increase speed, losing control momentarily, while the birds continued to sprint with astonishing agility until they disappeared behind the hills. In another attempt, The truck broke down completely. Days passed. Thousands of rounds were fired, but the emu's population remained large. Worse still, the newspapers began to circulate the story with derision. How could a modern army fail to defeat birds? Under pressure from the criticism, the government had only one option left: to hold the operation and withdraw the soldiers. No victory, no achievement to speak of. With the army's withdrawal, the victor was clear: the emus. Birds without weapons, without military plans, yet they imposed a reality that force could not alter. But amidst this embarrassment, the farmers learned a crucial lesson. Bullets were not the answer. Later, tall, sturdy fences were built, curbing the birds' invasion and proving that practical thinking can sometimes trump military might. The Emu War may seem like a humorous tale, but it carries a profound reminder. Not every enemy can be defeated with weapons, and not every battle deserves to be fought in the same way. History doesn't only recount tales of great victories. It also preserves moments when humanity, despite its advancements, discovered that it remains part of a world governed by nature. This was the Emu War, a war declared by a nation in which thousands of shots were fired, only to realize too late that some battles cannot be won.